Hey, what's up, dudes? It's Lerald. Patch 3.27 is coming soon, and we're going to get the big reveal in less than a week. Or maybe, actually, I think it's 8 days at the time of recording. It doesn't matter, around a week. So here's a little wish list of things we really want to see in the upcoming patch. That's kind of the video, right? I've been playing a little bit of PoE in the last couple of days. PoE 1, obviously. It's definitely still the big brother to PoE 2 right now, no question there. It'll get there in time. You know, PoE 2 is going to be good, I believe that. But PoE 1 casts an enormous shadow. It is definitely still the best ARPG on the market, even if I have suddenly become very bad after not playing it for like a month and a half. Anyhow, it's PoE 1 time now, and what a great time that is. So let's get into it, but first be sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Join the Discord as well, lots of discussion going on there. We're talking about PoE 2, PoE 1, WoW Legion Remix, Midnight, all of that stuff getting real hyped up for patch 3.27. Alright, let's start with 2 points. First off, am I playing Toxic Rain Pathfinder next league? Most common question. The answer is very likely. Yeah, probably, yes. There's a small chance it's Toxic Rain Trickster or something, maybe, but probably just Pathfinder. We'll see what the patch notes bring. And then the second point here is this post from GGG, what will happen when Mercenary and League ends. So this actually answered a couple of things that were going to go on the bingo board here, and those are items, whatever that you give to mercenaries are going to be moved into remove-only tabs, but basically they are going to be killing mercenaries when the league ends, which is as expected. However, what's not expected, pleasantly unexpected even, is that they love the mercenary mechanic overall and intend on adding it into the game in the future. It's going to be nerfed. They're probably going to do a lot. They're probably going to make it so that you can't use mercenaries as a minus 200% lightning res bot on all content, right? That would be a really good way to make them not be insanely overpowered. Just make it so their resistances can't go negative. That would fix that. I'm sure there's plenty of other stuff they're going to do to nerf them along the way, but the fact of the matter is, like, they will be coming back at some point. So now we get to say every single league from 328 on, mercenaries win, and that's going to be fun too. Also, Charthan gems are going to be in the game, and they're not going to come from lab, so there is another way to get some special gems, and they're going to come from Heist. Good to have another reason to run Heist that's, like, unique to Heist, and good to not have something gated behind lab. All of that's good. That's kind of all that we really know for, like, absolute certain, although there is one thing I think we can say with absolute certain that I'll get to in the middle of the bingo board here, and let's go ahead and jump over to the bingo board right here. And so initially, I hadn't written this up as a bingo board, and I got like halfway through it and realized like I can't condense 20-something ideas down to 5. So I went bingo board style, the classic. And as you can see, my first big point here is Assassin is terrible. We can look at, like, I was playing around with the time machine from this past league. We'll start with like week 1. You can see Assassin is not just the least popular ascendancy, but the least popular ascendancy by a mile. At the end of the first week of the league, even like second, third, whatever place are still like around 2% usage rate, with Berserker being pretty high at the end of the first week, 22%, but the rest of the classes are actually like pretty reasonably balanced. And then Assassin is just terrible. It's really, really unpopular, and for good reason. I'll kind of get to that more in a second, but even if we jump out to like the 4-week mark or the 6-week mark, you could see it's still just like 0.5% usage rate. And Sabo is also super low. Like, as soon as gear kind of starts to accumulate beyond like even just that first week, Trickster popularity really starts to jump up. It was kind of low in the first week. Shadow on the whole was, I think, the least played class in the first week of the league. And I guess Ascendant Scion's the least played, but of the 6 normal classes, and then Trickster jumps way out in front, even just by like the end of the first month of the league, and then it's just kind of off to the races. And if we look at like right now, it's clearly the most popular ascendancy, but actually not the most popular class. Like, it's complete ascendancy domination for Trickster, and then Sabo and Assassin are both relatively unpopular. And if we can kind of take a look at the ascendancies here, like, I'll start with Assassin and why I think this really needs to be buffed in a big bad way. There's like kind of 2 things going on for Assassin in terms of damage scaling. Like, the whole tree is almost all damage, right? So there's like Noxious Strike kind of giving you some poison scaling, but then Toxic Delivery is very like poison scaling as a crit build, and the only real build that does that is Perfect Agony, Viper Strike of the Mamba, which is just much better as a Pathfinder because you can get Master Toxicist, and then you have Poison Spreading. There really is no way other than this or using a Binos Kitchen Knife, which eats up a weapon slot, to get Poison Spreading in packs. So in order to get any sort of decent clear at all with this build, you basically have to play a Pathfinder or use a pretty... I mean, it's a tier 0 unique, so, you know, it's kind of a big investment to use that. And the other issue with it is that it's insanely easy to scale your damage up to the dot cap. Like, this build is way over the dot cap. As we can see, warnings, you're way over the dot cap. You know, that's like not a bad thing, but on the other hand, it just means that like a lot of the stuff that Assassin does, which is like this hard single target poison scaling out of crits, just doesn't really do anything at all. And then all the rest of the tree is basically like, some of this is good, Unstable Infusion and Deadly Infusion is just like basic power charge damage, crit chance, crit multi-scaling. I like it, I've always liked Assassin, I wish it was good. But then you have a bunch of like situational bonuses like Opportunistic, where sometimes your crit, or sometimes your damage isn't reflected, but only if it's a crit, so unless you have 100% crit chance all the time, you're gonna kill yourself with Reflect. Like, that's terrible. Sometimes it's more damage, sometimes it's damage reduction. Inconsistent damage reduction, everybody loves it. Ambush and Assassinate, sometimes you get more crit chance and more crit multi, sometimes you get more damage, depends on whether the enemy's at like full life or low life, which low life is 50% or less now, so it's not the worst bonus in the world, and, you know, getting built-in Culling Strike is okay, but it's just like, again, kind of another inconsistent thing. So it's a very inconsistent offensive ascendancy that has no real defense at all. And then you have Mistwalker, which is a bonus that I like conceptually quite a lot. Elusive is a fun bonus, 15% chance to avoid all damage, and 30% move speed is a good sounding buff. But the way that Elusive works is it's a sort of decay-based thing where it starts out at 100% and then very rapidly decays. So I'll just pull up like a fresh setup here. So a standard setup, if you're going to be doing anything with claws and you're going to be taking advantage of Elusive, and potentially if you were going to play an Assassin as it currently exists, is you would take Claws of the Hawk and play like a claw-based build, and then take the Claw Mastery that gives you supported skills, or skills supported by Nightblade have 40% increased effect of Elusive. Then you would take this Dagger Mastery, or this Dagger Wheel, including the Mastery, even though you're using Claws, because you get increased Elusive effect. And you could take this Mastery, 40% crit multi for skills supported by Nightblade. This is strong enough for most builds that are using Claws to justify taking this, even though it is literally dagger-related stuff. It's still like the Elusive effect and the Elusive crit multi applying to Nightblade buffed skills is good enough to justify taking this dagger stuff, even though it doesn't make sense. So by taking all of these bonuses in kind of a standard setup doing this, you're getting 40% increased of effective Elusive here, 40% here, 50% here, and 10% here. That's 140% all added up. And that means that your base Elusive effect is going to give you, what, like 30-something% chance to avoid all damage from hits, and like 75-ish, we'll say, increased move speed. That sounds really good. The issue is just very simple. You can't gain Elusive again if Elusive is already active, which means it has to decay all the way down to 0 in order for you to rebuild it up. So even if you stack all of this Elusive effect and you get all of this massive defensive value out of it, it's not really going to be at that level of incredible defensive value. You're basically just making it take even longer to be able to reset this rapidly decaying buff. So I love the idea of Mistwalker. I certainly love that you could, like, you do get basically crit damage immune out of it. Like, that's pretty great, but you have to be hitting very, very, very frequently in order to maintain full uptime on this. And even then, you're not maintaining full uptime on a strong buff, you're maintaining full uptime on a very, like, rapidly decaying kind of bad buff most of the time. So if Assassin was able to reapply Elusive before it has faded completely, that would definitely be good. The issue with that is Trickster, and there we go, we get to the rest of the row here. Trickster is just super damn tanky. Escape Artist is insanely strong. Soul Drinker is insanely strong. Spellbreaker is really good for builds that aren't able to leech. You know, you're playing a mind build or something, whatever. Spellbreaker can also be very good. You get decent sustain and damage out of Polymath. You get, like, a lot of good quality of life out of One Step Ahead. There's just so much power in the Trickster ascendancy that even if you were to, or GGG, were to buff a lot of the things that are wrong with Assassin right now, most of those are just going to wind up being, you play Trickster, and then you use Flesh and Flame to steal the thing that's now good from Assassin. And this is why the layout looks like this, right? 11% Trickster usage rate, and then basically damn near 0 usage rate on Sabo and Assassin, with Sabo not even really being that bad of an ascendancy. It's not great, it's kind of an old fave for me, but with them having shifted a lot of the mine and trap related bonuses from Saboteur into just being more in the passive tree, which I think was a good change, it does mean that Saboteur kind of lost a lot of its niche. So, going back to the bingo board, I would like to see multiple vectors of Assassin buffs, along with the Trickster defense nerf. I actually think at this point, as much as I like Trickster being super tanky, and like maybe I'll wind up playing Toxic Rain Trickster next league if it doesn't get nerfed, I think Escape Artist is just kind of bad for the state of class balance right now, ascendancy balance right now. It is why Trickster is just so much better than the other two Shadow Ascendancies to like a hilarious degree, because you're able to get this insane amount of max hit out of having a large amount of energy shield, and then also at the same time you're able to get tons and tons and tons of sustain out of Soul Drinker, potentially out of Spellbreaker if you take Spellbreaker, and then you combine that with Wicked Ward up here, and also Ghost Dance over here. Now you're getting like several different vectors of energy shield instantly recharging or continuing to recharge even while you're taking damage, and then you're also potentially getting like lots of leech, so you can't be killed by big hits because you have huge energy shield, you can't be killed by tons of small hits because you have evasion, you can't be killed by tons of medium hits because you have all of the sustain. So just a complete like math problem that's not solvable in the current state of Trickster. So there we are. That was kind of my big tee off moment. Everything else I think I'm gonna kind of move through a lot more quickly. The next thing I wanted to talk about, and this is very related to Assassin and Trickster here, is Discipline and Determination and Grace, all kind of needing some rebalancing, I think. So Determination and Grace both gave quite a lot more flat armor, flat evasion earlier on. They both got nerfed in patch 3.25, and you've really been able to feel that. They went from being pretty high usage skills, like if we're looking at the 4-week moment, like right at the end of the first month. The usage of Grace is like 24%, and the usage of Determ is 22%, right? And then Discipline is about 30%. So it is a noticeably more popular option than Determination or Grace. And the thing that I've always found really like weird about them is Determination and Grace, they give you more armor and some flat armor or whatever, or flat evasion and increased evasion scaling, like cool. They're good. But Discipline straight up gives you life. It gives you energy shield and energy shield recharge rate. It's effectively just giving you health, blue health. And it's a 35% res instead of a 50, which the other two are. So I don't know that Discipline necessarily needs to go up to being a 50% res. I think that would be a pretty huge nerf to Discipline, but I do feel like Grace and Determ either need to have theirs brought down to 35, which I don't think is going to happen, or they need to just simply have some of that flat evasion and flat armor that was taken away added back in, because I think they went a little too far in patch 3.25. Okay, Warden I think is just an ascendancy that just doesn't really work very well. I think it's got a real small niche. It basically only exists to be like a kinetic blast machine, like just to build like tons and tons and tons of shocks with Oath of Spring. I think it's like a pretty weak ascendancy. I'd love to see that kind of get more of a buff and go back to being more like somewhat more of like a dexterity based like agile melee kind of ascendancy as opposed to what it is right now. Then I think tier 17 map mod nerfs are just like something that really could stand to happen. I think most of the tier 17 map mods are really awful and like pretty universally hated, and I think we'd all love to see those get nerfed. I'd also love to see new tier 17 map layouts. I think that's part of the reason why people don't love tier 17s even still. I think a lot of the map layouts are actually just very bad. And I think about Abomination, the aptly named Abomination map just being like really an awful layout, and I think, that's kind of the standout for me, but all of them are kind of these narrow, nasty little hallways where you just get hit by like 100,000 projectiles at once. It's very annoying. I think both of these could be a justification for some of the new Uber bosses that were based off of the 3.26 bosses being added in. We could get some new tier 17 map layouts with new semi-Uber bosses at the end of those as a way to farm tokens to do the new Uber bosses. I would love that. Also, I think a new way to farm the 3.26 boss tokens would just be really good. Like, having to come down and talk to Egon and then individually roll these different maps that you get, these originator memory maps that are based with Egon, and having to do the whole chain. You know, like this one, I have to do, like, a bunch of crappy maps that I hate. Like, I mean, Plateau and Ivory Temple aren't actually that bad, but you get my point. Plateau, Ivory Temple, Dark Forest, Theater of Lies. I love the new maps that were added in that are at the end of these chains. I really do like Theater of Lies and whatever the other ones are. I liked them a lot. I just don't like having to do crappy map layouts on the way to them. I don't like having to individually roll maps over here at Egon. And nobody does, right? Like, this part of it was not good. Also, on that note, tier 16.5 map skills, a lot of them are pretty bad. That's okay even for there to be kind of like spoiler skills coming from the tier 16.5 maps, but having like 2 or 3 keybinds or whatever added into your existing set of keybinds between the mercenary and then the tier 16.5 map skills, which you could have multiple of, that was like a bridge too far. I think those need to be kind of like either just made passive or like all boiled down to a single keybind per map. Also, I think we need to see some new scarabs, just generally kind of a breath of fresh air coming in, and especially Risk Scarabs and Abyss Scarabs of Edifice either being gone or nerfed. Risk Scarabs are way too strong right now, adding in 2 additional random modifiers. Those have got to either be brought back down to 1 or just, I think, just deleted, honestly. And then Abyss Scarab of Edifice kind of doing the same deal, making it so that Abysses just spawn like 500,000 chests in every map. It's not good for performance. It doesn't really feel good to go around clicking them if you're not playing a caster. Get to that in a second. And then also just, you know, it's kind of annoying, right? Like, I don't love them. I don't really love PoE 1's interpretation of Abyss, and I think this is something that should go. Also, asynchronous trade. This is happening. I know a lot of people on Reddit have been like, if they don't add asynchronous trade, I won't play. They're gonna add it. Like, I have a lot of remove only tabs right now. Like, the Breach Ring tab is remove only because I converted a regular trading tab into a trade tab for PoE 2. So that's already committed. It's a foregone conclusion. It's gonna happen. It's like saying I hope water remains wet next league. Of course, dude. Of course. Okay, also, as I mentioned, attack builds need some sort of way to strongbox auto-open. I know some people said, I think the thing I've seen most on Reddit is, I'm trying to find that Ascendancy here, or not Ascendancy, Mastery, Caster Mastery, this one right here. 25% chance to open nearby chests when you cast a spell. Attackers just need an attack version of that same mastery. I know a lot of people have said on Reddit, like, make it a battle cry, whatever, war cry. You can war cry to open up masteries. That completely rules out like a lot of attack-based builds, actually. So like they could add one for Warcry Mastery and one for Attack Mastery, or they could just get rid of this from Caster Mastery and also drop the Edifice Scarab of Abyss. I don't really care, but having to play a caster in order to be able to do Abyss is terrible. Also, Settlers League probably needs a rebalance. The whole thing of just spam disenchanting tier 0 uniques and the amount of gold required to make Settlers League is a little bit out of line with, especially if they're adding in asynchronous trade. I think that's something that they're going to need to take another look at. Also, this is just like a personal one that I've really been wanting, is just extra content, and by extra content I mean like Reflecting Mist I don't really care as much about, but like the Viridian Wildwood and random Sentinels, I want that to be something that you can spec into on the passive tree. It might be an issue where you just wind up taking it in every single setup, but I would at least like one league where I can try and figure out a way to take more Sentinels in every single map. I love Sentinels, and I would just really like to have that come in. I like them more than the tier 16.5 map skills, which maybe that's an issue, but I do. Also, rune grafts. Rune grafts were something that I used in very nearly every single build of the league. I think every single build, actually. Rune Graft of the Fortress, if you can afford it, 40% global defense and 10% reduced attributes is amazing. Great trade-off. And then Rune Graft of the Warp, I'm pretty sure I used in every single build of the league. 30% slower buff expiration is insane. 30% faster debuff expiration is pretty good, although it does have the downside of getting you killed by like drowning orbs. I think this is kind of balanced, but on the other hand, I do feel like it's probably going to get nerfed. I think it probably should. If every single build is using it, it probably should be. All right, next on the list here is Tree League. I'm just guessing here, but like we have a couple of posts from GGG. These kind of look like Darkroot Garden or Darkroot Basin or something from Dark Souls 1. Just like trees. This one in particular, like shadowy trees and branches and stuff. I'm just guessing that the next league is going to be related to trees because, you know, I also think the next Zana storyline update, you know, the whole storyline that we got introduced in 326 is going to be Act 2 of a 3-act play or 3-act story or whatever. Like, I think we're going to not get the, like, culmination of that story just yet. I think it's going to set us up, kind of Empire Strikes Back us, give us some sort of tragic conclusion, and then we'll get to kind of culminate that in 328. All right, I think there are two things that came in this league that are going to get nerfed pretty hard, and I put them both in their separate boxes, Whispers of Infinity and Coiling Whisper and Bladefall of Charthus. I'm glad that they're keeping Bladefall of Charthus around. There was this really awesome interaction that you could do by Whispers of Infinity is this amulet. It gives you a massive amount of energy shield and makes it so you can spend energy shield instead of mana or life on all your spells without having to use Eldritch Battery, which is, like, pretty great. Then you can combine that with Bladefall of Charthus, which gives you this like constant hitting around you of blade falls, auto casting, and they do count as hits, so you can use them to like apply temp chains or whatever with Hex Touch. And it costs 5% mana per second, but it's based off of your mana pool, and because this is just converting or just making it cost energy shield, it's not costing 5% of your energy shield per second, it's costing 5% of your mana as energy shield, so like 30 ES rather than whatever this would have been, you know, hundreds of energy shield per second to maintain, so very easy to maintain. You can then use that with Coiling Whisper to give yourself, you know, along with a ring that reduces skill effect duration and like the properly leveled Hex Touch to give yourself like in like 0.01 second Hex duration, and then you can just run around basically spamming a curse on enemies passively and having max 45 souls all the time. This is a super awesome combination of powers that, like, is gonna get nerfed. There's no way it's not, right? And it probably should. It's insanely strong to be able to just run around with 45 souls all the time, so I think they could wind up nerfing this in a lot of ways. I think they'll probably just increase the rarity of Whispers of Infinity and maybe make it reduce your energy shield or not increase your energy shield by nearly as much. I think there's also a real possibility that with Coiling Whisper, they make it so that it reduces the amount of max souls you can have down from 45 to like 30 or something, 25 maybe. I think that's a possibility. And then the three final things are just kind of like, they would be nice. Free share ascendancies, maybe as some sort of unique jewel. I know that's something that people have been clamoring for. I'm not as interested in it, but on the other hand, it would be pretty fun. Open up a lot more build possibilities. Trial of the Ancestors returning would just be like a personal fave, and then an update to the bestiary UI because it stinks. It's really old and it used to look good, but you know, this is bad now, right? Like, this could definitely use a big UI update, and I think that we're due in the coming patch to make just bestiary be kind of streamlined anyways, and then also give it a big UI update as well. All right, there it is. Those are the changes that we're hoping to see in patch 3.27. It's a lot of them, but, you know, I think we got a decent chance of actually getting some of those in. It's still October, so it's still spooky movie recommendation time. This time we're going to do a 2-for-1, and actually recommend, like, something more like a horror comedy couple of movies here, and those would be Cabin in the Woods and Tucker and Dale vs. Evil. Horror comedy is a really underexplored genre outside of like low-budget exploitation films, and I think these are both pretty good, very different interpretations of horror as a comedy genre. I always love to see Alan Tudyk getting work too, so Tucker and Dale vs. Evil is like a personal fave. Alright, that's it. Be sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and join the Skipping Sleep Studio Discord and become part of our community. And finally, thank you to all of our channel members. If you want to support us so we can keep making more PoE content, become a channel member or come boost our Discord. Thanks for watching. Bye.